Durham?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. Next, before we open case AB 2022-36, I understand the applicant may have a statement/request.
Good evening. I'm Matt Danaskis on behalf of Mike Riddle, Pete, and Nancy Shermack, soon-to-be home buyer builders here in Orion Township, we hope. We've, since the last time we've appeared, we've made some significant changes. The lot is all staked out to look at, but given the unique characteristics of the home being made out of concrete, we felt that the board will probably have some questions for Dave Goodwill. And since Dave can't be with us this evening, we thought it'd be best just to hold off for 2 weeks so he could be here and we can make the presentation. All the questions could be answered at that time.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Danaskis? Motion by the board?
Is there a certain date?
October,
10th?
Yes.
meeting of October 10th.
As long as Dave's here, we're ready to go.
What was the date?
October 10th. Yeah.
This would be what, the second postponement, correct?
Yes,
And I know that's a very difficult
because Dave's not here.
property and stuff you're trying to get developed there, and we've had a lot of back and forth with our building official and attorneys and fire marshal, so I know you're trying to work this out to everyone's satisfaction, so
Exactly.
I'd like to make the motion, Mr. Chairman, to
Mr. Flood?
the matter of AB case, AB 2022-36, Matt Danaskis and Pete and Nancy Simonak, vacant parcel 2, parcel south of 576 Cushing Street, suitable number 0903-278-027, at the applicant's request due to numerous circumstances dealing with this property, to postpone this case until October 10th, 2022.
We have a motion by Mr. Flood, supported by Mr. Cook. Do we have any questions by the board? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Flood?
Yes.
Walker?
Yes.
Cook?
Yes.
Durham?
Yes.
Motion carries.
See you in October.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Didn't even get comfortable. Let the record reflect Mrs. Danaskis is back in her seat with us. Moving to the next case, but before we do, I want to briefly touch public comment. It's not a big house, there may not be a lot of public comment, but if you are here to speak to a particular matter and it appears that you might be passed by, you hear the conversation moving forward, put your hand up, wave, do whatever. Once you are at the podium, bring out all your information because you get 1 3-minute run at the podium. The 3 minutes will be measured by this watch, and when I use the phrasing, "thank you for your input," your 3 minutes are done. So that's how we're going to run things, and that will give everybody a chance without the same wording coming back a half a dozen times. Thank you. Next case, AB 2022-37, Northern Sign Company for Allstate, 3048 West Clarkson Road, Sidwell 09-08-376-017. Petitioner is seeking one variance from sign ordinance 152, section 7, non-residential wall signs, one variance for one wall sign over the allowed one wall sign for a total of 2 wall signs, totaling 19.13 square feet. Do we have a representative or a petitioner?
Excuse me, Chairman, can we just make that sign ordinance 153?
What did I say?
152?
Okay, it should be one variance from sign ordinance 153.
Thank you.
It's clearly 153 in front of me. Do we have a applicant or a representative? Seeing none, I'm glad you're here. Now what?
We can table it till later in the meeting.
Would we get a motion by the board for that?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Walker?
I move that since the petitioner does not be in the building, and even though they're up for on the agenda at this time, I move that we drop them to the end of the agenda, so to give them in case there's traffic issues or weather issues.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion by Mr. Walker, supported by Mrs. Danaskis. Anything additional? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Cook?
Yes.
Bud?
Yes.
Danaskis? Yes. Walker?
Yes.
Durham?
Yes.
Motion
We
carries.
will postpone them to the end. Okay, the new next case is AB 2022-38, Kathleen Jacob and Richard Morrow at 454 Shorewood Court, Sidwell 09-03-405-007. Petitioner is seeking 3 variances from zoning ordinance 78, zoned R3, Article 6, Section 6.04. Number 1 is an 8.42-foot side yard setback variance from the required 10-foot for a second-story addition to be 1.58 feet from the property line to the northeast. Second is an 8.42-foot side yard setback variance from the required 10 feet for a deck addition to be 1.58 feet from the property line to the northeast. Number 3 is a 2.17-foot side yard setback variance from the required 10-foot for a porch to be 7.83 feet from the property line northwest. Whoever's going to present, or both of you, introduce yourselves, please, and tell us what you'd like to do.
Richard Morrow and Kathleen Jacob,
Hi.
both owners of 454 Sherwood Court. We plan on getting married, and we only have a 600-square-foot house. It's not very big. So that's why we have this proposed addition. It's modest. It's an 8-foot addition that we're going to plan on doing if we get approved by you. And a second story for us, for a bedroom. Very modest addition. We believe it will improve the value of the homes in the area. We've also got here tonight 7 signatures of our neighbors within 300 feet of our property in the surrounding area,
Okay?
approving of us. We all know each other very well. For the last 15 years, we've seen other houses. She has pictures she's handing out that shows how close other variances have been approved in the pictures. And we're just another one on the street trying to add a little bit of room there. We have a pie-shaped lot. It's very small shape, so we're just adding a small portion to the house. And we need these setbacks to achieve that. The one on the entrance to the house is encroaching 2 foot on the setback of 10 feet. Just so we have a front entrance. We have 4 foot off the ground, so we have to step up to get to a pad where we can turn and go into the house from the side of the house. That's why we need that setback. The deck on the front lakeside is just an extra 6 feet that we just want for enjoyment purposes. The second story is on the back side of the house for about approximately 18 feet of the home off the driveway side. And her sister lives next door, and they've signed here that they're okay with it on that thing. So if you want to hand that to them so they can see that.
I have it all.
No, they don't have this.
They do.
Oh, you did? Okay. She's
So-
very efficient.
So real quick, the global, we did that, you can see what, our house has got a little red dot kind of over it, but not so much. But most importantly, we did that so that you could see 2 houses. There are 2 on the far right and 2 on the far left. Both of those are within a feet. They are most, in the last 10 years, have been completely, well, remodeled to a full house, 2-story, and they are within a foot or even maybe 2 feet from each other. So those would be the 2 houses on the left and the 2 houses on the right of that global picture that we took, if that's helpful.
Do you have any knowledge about whether these people got variances for what they did?
Yes.
Yes,
They did.
yes, they
It
all
was a-
had,
It was approved.
Thank you.
That's about it.
Okay? Questions by the board?
Mr. Chairman,
Flood.
I noticed in our packet that the fire marshal has no concern with that, with this request on this case. Also, I was looking at the practical difficulty, and, well, these lake lots are all about the same shape. These are older cottages, and you got a pie-shaped lot there. It starts out at 48 feet and probably goes, when it goes down to the lake, you're like you got 10 feet at the end of the, in there.
Yeah, we do.
I was out there looking at your property today.
Oh, good.
It's probably in your information if I look deeply, but do you know, if granted tonight, what your square footage will be at that point?
Yes, currently the house is 602 square feet. We're proposing to add on approximately 700 square feet. So that'll make it about a 1,300 square foot addition.
So it would still, by today's standards, be modest size.
Very modest in size for the lot. We're just two people and
The
we're
existing,
retired, so.
the existing property is not going to change. We're not adding, making a bigger basement. All we're doing, because we are 4 feet off the ground, we're just coming out 8 feet.
With a
the-
crawl space.
It'll still
It'll
be
have
on
a-
the crawl space, and then the back 17 feet of a 40-foot-long house, the back 17 feet, which is the parking lot size, is what we're going up.
For a bedroom. And this house was built in 1940 approximately.
41.
41. And we are not changing the existing footprint at all. We're just adding 8 feet of a poured wall to match the level of the first story of the house. And then adding a first story on the first part and second story on the back part.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I noticed you had us, your letter of support from your neighbor. I see the 7 neighbors are
Yeah.
supporting you on this, and they,
We're all very close.
mainly what they say is they look forward to having an improvement for their neighborhood, and
It will increase the value of the home itself and the homes in the area.
a lot of times we'll get neighbors come in and we have the neighbor disputes. It's refreshing to see someone come in and get all the support
Yeah,
for a change.
yeah, it's nice.
Yes, it is.
Mr. Chairman.
Good.
All right, so, I too went out to the property and just trying to picture what you guys have submitted. As I'm facing the home, the addition would be to the right side, is that correct?
Yes.
If you're in the driveway face.
If I'm in the driveway facing the home, right? So, and then that's where the second story would go, just on that section?
18,
Yes.
approximately
Yep.
18 foot forward.
Right.
on the
Parking
back wall.
lot side.
Okay, gotcha.
And the 8-foot variance on the side is because we have an 8-foot of the house coming out, but then we have an 8-foot porch. So the existing porch that's there, the deck that's there, will come out a little bit farther, which is variance of the,
The house isn't violating anything, it's just the porch. that we
it's just the
want.
porch.
Right, the 2.1, okay, gotcha. Okay,
So it's a 842 instead of a 10-foot.
now that helps a lot, just trying to understand that piece of it.
One additional point I like too is that they're not asking for any relief from the lake or from the setback for the water, and I appreciate that.
Right, we're not doing anything.
It appeared to me when I was out there that you were asking for minimal variances to get your house from really small to, as we said, moderate size.
Livable, yeah.
Because you see some folks that want to come in and go from a house that size to a castle in one shot, and that gets a little bit hard sometimes to do, but you're taking just the step that you need to take.
Yes,
And as Mr. Flood said, you've got a whole bunch of neighbor support, and that's always important too.
Currently a one-bedroom, we're just adding on one more bedroom, so big enough to sleep in.
Let me, a question for our building and planning representative. Do all of these addresses need to be read into the record, or just the information given up?
You should read the addresses, but you don't have to read that you can say that they're all in approval,
If they're all for approval?
if they are, correct.
Okay. Well, while the board thinks about this, I'll try to get through these names and addresses. As,
Sure you want me to do that for you while you
well,
run the meeting?
that's kind of hard.
All right, go ahead.
A lot of these are, not that you couldn't, but they're handwritten signatures. All right, we have approval from 444 Sherwood Court, Mike and Catherine Isola, 31-year homeowner. We have approval from Jeff Sophia at 362 Sherwood Court, who supplies his phone number if we have questions. We have approval from Ken and Maureen Hudson at 406 Sherwood Court. We have approval from Ken Beatty at 512 Fernhurst Court. We have approval from Nicole Beardsley at 384 Sherwood Court. Kelly and Kevin Harper at 350 Sherwood Court. Jeff, it looks like Beckus at 22 Sherwood Court. They're all in favor of this and would like to see it happen.
Mr. Chair, I'm prepared to make a motion.
Okay, please.
In the matter of ZBA Case AB 2022-38, Kathleen Jacob and Richard Morrow, 454 Shorewood Court, Sidwell number 0903405007, I would move that the petitioner's request for 3 variances from zoning ordinance 78, zoned R3. Number 1, an 8.42-foot side yard setback variance for a second-story addition to be 1.5 feet from the property line northeast. 2, an 8.42-foot side yard setback variance for a deck addition to be 1.5 feet from the property line northeast. 3, a 2.17 side yard setback variance for a porch to be 7.83 feet from the property line northwest. Be granted because the petitioner did demonstrate that the following standards for variances have been met in this case, and that they set forth facts which show that in this case, number 1, the petitioner does show the following practical difficulty. This wedge-shaped lot, it makes it very difficult to conform to the setbacks to even build an addition to make a modest home. 2, the following are exceptions or extraordinary circumstances or conditions applicable to the property involved that do not apply generally to other properties in the same zone. This was built in 1941, probably as a cottage. It was extremely small as a home, only 600-plus square feet. This addition will create a modest-sized home. The variance is necessary for the preservation and enjoyment of substantial property right possessed by the property in the same zone or vicinity based on the following facts. They are adding a bedroom. It's only a single-bedroom home. In order to enjoy this home, they need to have at least one additional bedroom, and they need the additional space to make this a livable space. The granting of the various modification will not materially be detrimental to the public welfare or materially injurious to the property or to improvements in such zone or district in which the property located based on the Further, based on the following findings of facts, the granting of this variance would not impair adequate supply of light and air to adjacent property, would not unreasonably increase the congestion in public streets, would not increase the danger of fire or public safety, would not unreasonably impair or diminish property values within the surrounding area, or in any other respect impair the public health, safety, comfort, morals, or welfare of the inhabitants of the township.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, can you amend the motion? I thought I heard you said 1.5 feet. It's 1.58 feet for 1 and 2?
Thank you, 1.58.
Thank you.
I'll second the amended motion. Mr. Chairman, did we ask for public
We
comment?
did
prior?
not, and I was going to do that.
I'll second the motion on the fact that we asked for public comment prior to our vote.
Absolutely. We have a motion on the floor by Mrs. Danaskis and supported by Mr. Flood. Prior to the vote, do we have anybody that came tonight to speak specifically to this matter? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Danaskis?
Yes.
Cook?
Yes.
Walker?
Yes.
Flood?
Yes.
Durham?
Yes,
Motion carries.
you're all set. Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have 2022-39 Michael Adams at 2901 Judah Road, Sidwell 09-32-400-007. Petitioner is seeking two variances from zoning ordinance 78 zoned R1, Article 27, Section 27.02A4, and Article 27, Section 27.05 H2. Number one is a 10-foot side yard setback variance from the required 10 feet for a 6-foot privacy fence to be 0 feet from the property line to the west. Number two is a 10-foot side yard setback variance from the required 10 feet for a 6-foot privacy fence to be 0 feet from the property line to the east. Do we have an applicant? Come on up, introduce yourself, and tell us what you have got going on there.
My name's Mike Adams. We currently have a fence, like you just read, that it's 0 feet from the property line right now with no setback. And from 40 feet back on the front of the property line, it does exceed the 4-foot guidance that it's supposed to adhere to. Couple of things that when we first bought the property, there was an abandoned home on there that had fallen down and was in blight. We've demoed that and working with the city, gotten that all out of there and removed all the debris and everything from the lot when it was abandoned. There was a driveway to the one side of us that encroached onto our property that just, over years of no one living in the lot that we purchased, the driveway gradually migrated over onto our property line. On the far side, there's some sort of easement recorded where there's lots that are subdivided in a different direction than all the rest of the community. There's another lot in the back that has frequently been like a storage yard for a contractor business with scaffolding and construction debris and et cetera back on that side. The other homeowner has a pool that faces the proposed pad for where we have plans with the city that are approved right now to put a house in there. With the elevation of our lot, it's a kind of a bell-shaped curve to the ground. You know, we sit higher naturally in that area anyway. We'd prefer to have a 10-foot fence to block out the debris and the traffic of the contractor storage over here and to block the pool visibility and stuff that they have going on with their house over there. Practicality, we have a pond in the back. If we adhere to a 10-foot setback on the one side to keep it a 10-foot fence that faces the construction debris, it takes us close to where that pond is in the back. And depending on rain throughout the season or what, would make the back half inaccessible of the lot with that fence there. So we put it up there, but I mean, we're bringing it to you and for the vote, if it gets turned down, we would cut it down to the 4-foot size, but our preference would be that it remain the 6-foot, blocking those on each side and defining the property lines.
Okay, questions that I had a couple.
Yeah.
The encroachment that you speak of, one of your neighbors, active neighbor, is moved over onto your side?
So, when we purchased the lot, I think the other neighbor I think that's changed hands since we purchased the lot. But the homeowner that was there when we first purchased it, he came over and told us at the time that he had done that because no one was living there and that he would make plans to move it back onto his property line. I believe then he sold it to someone else after the fact, and that was the last that I heard of him relocating that driveway or anything.
Have you attempted to make a correction with the property owner instead of with a fence?
No.
So that might be something that could happen if you explored it?
It is on our property, the original driveway was.
So if I'm your next door property owner and you come over and say, you've got your driveway on my property, move it, have you taken that step yet?
No.
Okay. The zoning out there is R1. which makes me wonder why anything's being stored, construction equipment and things like that. The day I was back there, I saw that there was some stuff back on the other side. You ever see anybody in there doing anything?
Every now and then, pickup trucks go back there and grab things and take it out, but for the most part, it's pretty
Okay.
abandoned.
Your fence, when did it go up?
And it's been a work in progress. We stopped once we got involved in this. I just tell you the truth, I don't know exactly what the date is.
I mean, this summer did it start?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's pretty recent.
Yeah.
You make mention in your information of a retention pond. Is that a lowland, just a regular everyday swamp back there?
Everyday swamp, yeah, it's not wetland or anything.
Is it regulated?
No.
Does it dry up?
I mean, I've seen different water levels come in, but I've never seen it fully dry.
Okay. That's all I have for now. Board members?
You ask all the questions.
Get all the easy ones.
I didn't drive back on your property because of the severe warning signs you've got out there. You said everything except trespassers will be shot on sight. So I elected not to drive back further. But I did notice that 10-foot privacy fence is erected on both sides of the property, right?
Correct, yeah. I mean, it starts further back.
Right, you're not to the front
Right,
portion does it go all the way back to the back of the property?
almost, yeah.
And by now you've discovered that what you've done is in violation of ordinance?
With the height of it.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's all I've got.
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Flood?
we always ask these folks in this township, when they want to put these 6-foot privacy fence, what's your practical difficulty? Why would not a 4-foot fence, privacy fence, work the same as a 6-foot privacy fence?
Well, we do have a little bit of the situation I was talking about where our pad is sitting higher for our existing house. So a 4-foot fence and the house is going to sit higher, it doesn't offer much privacy sitting at the lower levels.
So what's the practical difficulty? To add another 2 feet on your fence. I see you got a lot of woods there in front there for privacy and things like that. I don't see the practical difficulty requiring a 6-foot fence. You are allowed 4 foot all the way around. You got some 4 foot in.
Right.
And I thought I heard you say that you would cut it down to 4 feet if you had to.
Yeah, if you guys are turning it down, the fence would stay, but it would be cut down to a 4-foot
Right.
height, yeah.
I see you own the property for 2 years?
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Cook?
Mr. Adams, I do want to say that although you're in violation, I do appreciate you putting the good side out when you did erect it. I mean, because that's, what we would expect.
Yeah.
And then there's, the bad side, which is, I did elect to walk onto the property.
Okay.
And it has nothing to, well, have you noticed some erosion issues, the way that the fence is in there?
Erosion issues.
Yes, sir.
By the pond or?
No, sir, just literally up by the pad on each side. Whether you go to the east or the west,
Like to where we have the lot staked right now for
where the fence is.
the fence?
Yes, sir. Okay. All right, yeah. That's part of that has nothing to do with the height, but that fence is affecting the natural flow of water. By just looking at the patterns of the soil that's there.
Right.
So,
Which we also, we've had a surveyor come out to stake to figure out the proper height for that, or where our house is going to sit.
yes.
So none of that has been final grade or adjusted or anything for
Okay.
the surveyed plot plan in terms of drainage and stuff like that. So it's still work in progress, construction zone.
Okay, gotcha. All right, thank you.
While we let the board think about it, let's ask Mr. Adams to surrender the mic briefly, because I see some folks fairly vibrating to come up and do some public comment. So we will take the first person that'd like to step up. Come on up, introduce yourself, and tell us what's on your mind, please.
Good afternoon, or evening. Gary and Brenda Skritsky, owners of 2735 Judah Road. We're approximately 2 lots down from Mr. Adams' property that is developing. First of all, I'd like to make an observation. It's very clear that people before us come to the board for permission to ask for the variance. Mr. Adams did nothing of the sort. He built a fence, and just to let you know, there's 5 different types of fencing. There's metal in the front, vertical on the sides, horizontal on the sides, everything from broken 2x4s to piecemeal together fencing. It's a disaster. To your question about the erosion, they brought in truckloads of sand, day after day after day. They worked throughout the weekend knowing that the city's not going to stop by. The erosion, they stripped all the vegetation off the hill. The erosion, you can see the erosion ditches. They stripped all the vegetation around the pond. And there is a regulator on the pond. It's on our property. He's never met the neighbors. He's taken absolutely no interest in what anyone has to say or meeting anybody. Judy, who lives next door to him, has a lot to say. All right, we have 7 or 8 people here that are pretty pissed off about it, because once the leaves die, I have to look at this eyesore in my backyard. We own not only the property at 2735 Judah, but we also own the property next door. We own the other half of the lake, and we own the entire hillside. So we keep it groomed, we keep it trimmed. We have a new neighbor that's building next to us. We've already made great relations with them. They like the property, the landscape and how the natural beauty of the property is. It's been destroyed by the fence. The wildlife cannot get through because there is a border fence to the gas line that keeps everything going back. So we have the natural flow of wildlife has been disturbed, and it's literally an eyesore. So we're asking that this motion be denied.
Let me ask you a question, if I may. You said you have a regulator on your pond. Is DNR or anybody ever been involved in the regulation of that waterway, if you know?
That pond has been there for 25, 30 years.
Yeah, we were there in the 60s.
My wife grew up on the property. She
Yeah.
was born and lived in that house. And that lake was developed by, even before she was born. But there is a regulator on our property, and I could literally go out in the lake, I could move it up and down and change the height of the lake. When I do that, the water floods onto my property. So I have to take that into account, and if the water, if we decide if the lake water does get too high from runoff, but now you could see the runoff coming down the hill. There's literally mounds of sand that are coming down the hill into the lake. It's not a swamp, it's a lake. We have friends that come and fish from it. It's stocked with fish.
Yeah,
It's
got
a very-
fish this big.
It's very clear, it's very clean. So, he's not asking for permission. He could give a crap about permission. He just came in, put up the fence, and is coming here now saying, I want this. So I'm not, before I get too emotional, but I just want to say that I would like to see that the motion be denied. And the fence is an abomination. I've been here, Mr. Flood, we've been to other meetings here, and I know Mr. Flood, like you said, you guys go and look at it. People have presented fences. They show what they want to do. You go out, you look in the neighborhood to see if it makes sense for that neighborhood to have that type of fence. There's literally 6 different types of fences on this property. And it's just like I said, it's an eyesore. And it's taken away from the beauty. When the leaves fall off, I got to look at this.
I need to call your time, please. Now, the lady, she can have 3 minutes too, if she wants to.
Oh, I'm just, he pretty much said it all. But I grew up, I was living there in the 60s at 2741, which is the house in front of where we live now. So I've been back and forth for many, many years. Like the McNabs, you guys have lived there. I went to school with you. And I've never seen anything like this. They came in there like a banshee and just put this crap up there, and it looks awful. I have grandkids that are just like, are we gonna be able to sled on the hills and stuff? And I says, I guess, but the 10-year-old can read his sign, 10 years old.
The
and she's
signage in
like,
front.
oh my gosh.
Please address the board, ma'am.
You got it.
Driving down the road. puts a sign up there, basically, like you said, everything but we're gonna shoot ya. I've never seen, we live on a little dirt road.
It's kind of a little paradise. You go on the other side, you got Menards, Kohl's, Meyer, you have all the development, and you kind of literally go over the hill,
Yep.
and you got this little piece of paradise that everyone's trying to hang on to. I know we've had some heated discussions when we had the hauling and the filling of the hill, and everybody voiced their opinion about that, and that's ended, which is great, and the grass is growing on it, it looks beautiful, but, it's just like, if we don't come up and speak, we have to set a precedence, right? And somebody has to speak up, we gotta say something, otherwise, we got houses all developing, we got another home down the street being built, next door to us being built, we got property for sale. Another neighbor here's had some issues with some things as well, so.
Okay, at this point, I need to call the ladies' time also, but I will state that this is absolutely not the only instance of somebody coming in after the fact. That happens more often than you would know unless you were one of the sad people that watch these meetings every week. It does happen, so this gentleman is not that far outside, off the normal bubble. But your concerns have been heard. Appreciate your time. Do we have another public comment? Come on up.
Hello, everyone. My name is Judy Nickerson. I'm the new resident of 2869 Warren Township. I've been in Canada for 26 years, and I've just recently come back to the States, and I chose Warren Township as my home. This year, I've been looking for a home, and I found the property that is in question. When I purchased it, it did not have a fence. There was no discussion of a fence. There was no discussion of any fence being put up. I fell in love with the property, and I chose to purchase it. In the meantime, I've met all the other neighbors, introduced themselves, welcomed me to the neighborhood. And I've noticed a fence going up, no questions, no discussions, no comments about the different versions of types of fence.
Let me interrupt you just a moment because I'm confused, and if I am, maybe somebody else is up here. You own property there. Where in relation to this gentleman's property is yours?
Adjacent to it, I'm 2869. So I believe I'm the east property.
If I'm looking at his driveway,
I'm on the right side.
you're on the right side,
The
okay.
east, yes, thank you. To the east.
Okay, thank you.
So I get the erosions. In the last 3 months, I have witnessed a ton of sand. I also have a ton of white rock on the grass property that's only come from the property next to me. The fence in question is actually allowing a lot of erosion under and onto my property. I have a ton of sand all the way from the beginning, all the way to the back. I've had neighbors in the past that when we built a fence, there's been an agreement of this is the type of fence that's going to be put on. This is the first time I'm meeting, or not meeting, but actually seeing the neighbor that we're having this discussion. It's even the fence in the front, I have 12 inches of cement on my side of the property. That's a circle. It goes about 12 inches from the post, and it's about 3 inches high. That's on my property. And I don't want it on my property. It's going to be a hassle for me to put a driveway in now, because I'm going to have to keep that in mind as well. And like I said, when I did buy the property, I did have a driveway, and there was no mention or even discussion of a fence or even posts being put up. When the fence was going up, I did talk to the workers, and they never said anything. They just said that they had approval for the fence. I asked for who the neighbor was, but all of them were unable to give me the name. So, I just ask that it be voted against because of that, because, again, I have a lot of erosion already being built up on my side of the property with the sand, with the white rock, and like the gentleman before me said, every day there's about 10 to 20 trucks of dirt coming in, and it's nonstop. Right now, there's a machine that's packing down the sand, and it's causing my house to shake. And that starts from 8 o'clock, and it goes up to 8, 9 p.m., every day. My home is a 1960 home. It does shake a lot now because of the machine that's going on to pack down the sand. And I'm concerned that I'm going to have more erosion. And the last couple days that we've had rain, you can actually see the visibility on my property with the sand, with the rocks, and so forth. And that's from the beginning all the way up to the back. And the fence does go from the front of the property all the way to the back.
Need to thank you for your input. I need to let everybody know, however, that the only thing in front of this board tonight is a 6-foot fence on the property line. He's allowed to have a 4-foot fence on the property line. So if he is not successful, he may be asked to cut it down. But the particular issues that you have sound like mainly will remain and will, at that point, quite probably turn into a civil matter between you and him. So this board can't solve everybody's problems tonight because that's not what's in front of us.
No, I just appreciate you taking the time to hear my concerns.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have somebody else? Come on up.
My name is James Swash. I'm at 2741 Judah Road. I live in front of Brenda and Gary. Like he said, the fence is hideous looking. I doubt if it'll make a winter or two. It's just really shoddy workmanship. And I have to look at it all winter long. When all the leaves go down, it's just unacceptable for an engineering standpoint. The second thing is, every Sunday morning, like the sign said, you'll be shot on the property. There's semi-automatic firing going on there. I've had to call the police several Sundays. This is from 8 o'clock in the morning until at night. That fence is not going to stop a bullet from a semi-automatic rifle. That's my concern. I'd like them to put it in 10 feet, make it out of cinder block, so I won't have to worry about a gunshot going through my window. And I totally am against this. Thank you.
Let me ask you a question before you get away. You've had sheriff's deputies out there?
Correct.
If you care to tell me, what was their determination?
They didn't stop back by. They asked me if they wanted to stop, and I said, well, they could if they want to. They can just hear the gunfire. And they'll go drive down the road, and then it'll stop. And then the next Sunday, I call again. If somebody wants to go in their backyard and, tune in their gun for deer hunting season up north, that's one thing, but it was continuous. I don't know how many bullets he went through. It's just crazy. But thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody, come on up.
Good evening, Gene McNabb, Orion Township. Before you start the clock, I can answer a couple questions for you. The gunshots are coming from my father's property. The sheriff has been out there, and the sheriff you have no problem. You're good to shoot here. We have no issues with it at all.
Your father's property's on the other end of the road, though, right?
Pardon?
Your dad's property's down towards Baldwin, no?
We have adjacent property to his
Okay,
property.
okay,
There's 2 lots between.
okay.
Okay, where do I start? I'll start with the amount of fill coming in that place. I've had like 4 or 5 people call me and wondered if the pit was open again. I contacted the building department. They said they're allowed to fill, they have an open permit. However, they cannot fill over 99 yards a year without a mining permit, which is Ordinance 99, which you guys are very familiar with. How many 5-yard dump trucks does it take to make 99 yards? He is way over, way over. The pond in the back. The wetlands has been contacted. He's destroyed the edge of the property, which is mine, and run his fence through it. May I approach?
Sure.
Mr. McNabb, is that a color version of what you just gave us?
That's one,
My father gave you
that's one your dad gave you, yeah.
If you look at that map, that's the map that I got from FOIA, from the building department. Then you go on page 116 of your docket. Always conveniently erased and blacked out that the fence runs right through the water, which my property goes into the water. His fence is on my property. I've talked to him. He don't think it's on the property. I know my property. The pictures, I'd like to go through the pictures with you, gentlemen. Can you pull those up, or the ones I sent you? Yep. Picture one is a site down the fence line. The fence where I'm standing is probably 9 inches on his property. It goes back to that pond. The back of his property wasn't inaccessible without going on somebody else's property. He put the fence on my property so he could build his property out to access the back of that property. This fence is about 3 to 4 feet on my property. And you didn't have to wait long for your property dispute, did you, Mr. Flood? The second picture is a picture where they took their bulldozer or whatever they did. They shoved all their crap on my property and put the fence up. I know you would have never seen that because you only were concerned on the other side. The next picture is the trees and stuff and brush he cut down from around the pond. I don't know what lives in the pond. He destroyed natural habitat. The fourth picture, it shows a post. If you look from the post to the fence, that's a 30-foot easement I have that goes to Judah Road. At that point, he is 9 inches on his property. He bought the property knowing what it was, and he's come in there and destroyed the whole neighborhood. If you look at picture 6, you can see where the fence comes down and it flares out. It flares out, and you can see how much he's flared it out to fill in that corner of that pond to gain access to the back of the property. And picture 7 shows the same thing, and picture 8 shows the same thing. Did any of you people notice the green approved sticker stuck on the front post at the beginning of the property? Orient Township sticker? I contacted the building department on that and asked them if they knew anything about it. They said, no. It's none of our inspectors. It's concerning. Where did he get that sticker from to put on that fence to give the illusion to the neighbors that that fence is okay? That should be very concerning. If there's any questions I can answer about that property, I bet there's nobody in the room but one that knows more about that area than me. I'll gladly do it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have additional public comment? Come on up, please. Let Mr. McNabb go first. Well, yeah, you can come on up. Go ahead.
Eugene McNabb, 2981, Judah. I won't keep you. He hauled in over 300 yards of material. So he uses a single axle dump truck and a tandem axle dump truck. And I'll put one more thing. The only reason you build a 6-foot fence is because you're hiding something. And not only that, when the fence goes through where the pond is, it'll create a dam. And that pond was put in for the water to come off from Mount Judah Mountain to feed into that pond. Bob Warren had to put that in when he when he done that excavation for our drainage of the Mount Judah Farms. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, yeah, come on up.
Tim Finney, 2720 Judah Road. I'm across the road and down a few to the west. I would oppose it just because when I moved to Judah Road's kind of like a wildlife sanctuary. We got more deer, turkeys, coyotes, everything on that road. And if everyone built a 10-foot fence, it would just be horrible. It looks bad driving down. It's something I'd see from when I used to work in Warren or Detroit with the do not trespass signs and the tall fences, so I'd be opposed to it.
Thank you. Do we have anything additional from anybody for public comment? Well, we'll let anybody that hasn't come up think about it for a minute. Board members, you have any? Come on up, sir, Mr. Adams. Back up and introduce yourself again, please.
Michael Adams.
Board members.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Flood.
you have already alluded to what this board has got before them. I hear all the neighbors. I hear this stuff. That is a civil action which we have no control over by this board. That's a civil matter. Even working with our building department is between them and them. We have nothing to do with that. We have before us a petitioner requesting a variances to allow a 6-foot fence on his 2 side property lines. Plain and simple. He is allowed a 6-foot fence on his property if he puts it on the setbacks that are required for that zone property. That's your option. Option number 2 is our ordinance says 4-foot fences are allowed in this township on the property line. Going through the ordinance, this board has no control of what this fence is constructed of. That would be another civil matter or a work with the building department. What I'm looking at right in front of me, no different than any other resident that comes before us for these 6-foot privacy fences. He's either approve or deny. That's my comment.
Thank you. Anything additional from the board?
I just have one question.
Mr. Walker?
Mr. Adams, do you intend to live on this property? Thank you.
Before we request a motion, do we have anybody in the audience that has not already spoken that would like to come up? Okay, seeing none, thank you.
Mr. Adams, question for you, sir. Within here, there was a statement that was written which said that you believe that you were okay to put up a 6-foot fence. Can you kind of reference what you might have been reading when you thought that?
So we came in here and spoke to somebody in planning or something before we started doing anything. And just verbally, when we were talking through them, we thought that the major concern was the setback from the road had to be, I think it was 40 feet that they told me at the time, and anything after that could be the 6 feet. So that's why we have the wrought iron in the front, which is a 4-foot, which we thought would just be a little bit more minimalistic and not as noticeable in the front. And if you go back past that front setback is where the 6 foot start, and that's where the discrepancy is.
Then noticing down the west side of the property, it comes to the front pretty far. So when you say you're not in the front yard, what do you, you're within the setback is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Cook?
In a matter of ZBA case AB 2022-39, Michael Adams, 2901 Judah Road, Sidwell 0932400-007, I would move that the petitioner's request for two variances from the zoning ordinance number 78 zoned R1. Number one, a 10-foot side yard setback variance for a 6-foot privacy fence to be 0 feet from the property line to the west. And number two, a 10-foot side yard setback variance for a 6-foot privacy fence to be 0 feet from the property line to the east be denied because the petitioner did not demonstrate that the following standards for variances have been met in this case, and that they set forth facts which show that in the case the petitioner does not show, number one, the practical difficulty in terms of the practical difficulty that there is anything there are unique things about the property, but there's nothing unique about his reasoning for wanting or needing a 6-foot fence. The following are not exceptional or extraordinary circumstances or conditions applicable to the property involved that do not generally apply to other properties in the same district, and that is an area where there is, most of the lots are long and deep and also are covered with woods, and there's a variety of topographic heights that vary throughout that entire street of, that entire district of Judah. The variance is not necessary for the preservation and enjoyment of a substantial property right possessed by other property in the same zone or vicinity based upon the following fact. Mr. Adams did mention that there is a pool that he could see, but other than that, there was no mention of anything that was a particular eyesore, which again does not relate to the need for a 6-foot fence. The granting of the variance or modification will be materially detrimental to the public welfare or materially injurious to the property or to improvements in such zone or district in which the property is located, based upon the fact that we've had some discussion which have nothing to do with the height, but there are some concerns for erosion and or other water and or materials running off the property. Further, based upon the finding of fact, the granting of this variance would impair adequate supply of light and air to adjacent properties. It would not unreasonably increase congestion in public streets. There is some concern of what has been mentioned of increasing either danger to the public by by having the fence there. Or in any other respect impair health, safety, comfort, morals, or the welfare of the inhabitants of the township, so.
I'll second the motion, that the motion maker would amend the motion to also include either unreasonably diminish or impair established property values within the same surrounding areas.
I'll accept that, sir. Do we need to address remedy in this, or just we denying the motion?
I was thinking about that myself. If this motion if the motion is successful and the variance is denied, you'll take that back, obviously, to the building official, and it'll be up to them to determine the next step?
Correct.
All right.
All right, we have a motion on the floor by Mr. Cook and a support by Mr. Flood. Do we have any other questions by the board members? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Walker?
Yes.
Danaskis?
Yes.
Flood?
Yes.
Cook?
Yes.
Durham?
Yes,
Motion carried.
your motion, or your request is denied. Next step will be the building department, whether they want it out of there or down to 4 feet, that'll be their call.
We have a court date set already for that was pending this discussion.
Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, next up, we have AB 2022-40, Courtney Markov at 805 Merritt, Sidwell 09-11-351-004. The petitioner is seeking, got derailed, petitioner seeking one variance from zoning ordinance 78, zoned R2, Article 27, Section 27.01, C1B. Number one, a 2.92 side yard setback variance from the required 8-foot for a house addition with an attached garage to be 5.08 feet from the property line to the north. Do we have an applicant? Come on up, introduce yourself, and let us know what you'd like to do.
You don't have an applicant, but you do have her representative.
Okay, that'll do too.
My name is Ed Gregosian, and I was identified in the application or the petition by Ms. Markoff. I think that this is a pretty straightforward issue. Petitioner, needs a two-car garage, and she wants it attached to her house. So if you look at the drawings, the site plan, this is simply a 20-foot wide garage next to the house with a second story. That gets 2.92 feet into the setback. I think the most significant thing about the setback issue in this case is that if you look at the photo that's on page 141, you'll see that we are seeking a variance of the northern property line setback. And the parcel to the north of that doesn't have any buildings on it. It's an easement for the houses on the next parcel, so that there's a private road there. So side setbacks are really for the purpose of keeping houses far enough apart from each other and not getting too close. And there's no house here that's that close. It's at least 60 feet away from the property line, Ms. Markoff's northern property line. So there's really not a side setback issue in this case. The practical difficulty that my client has is on the south side of her house, she has a well and a septic cleanout or a sewer cleanout. In addition, her putting the garage on the north side of her property means there's a nice space between her house and the southern house and a nice space between her house and the house to the north. Really, to me, that's really the issue. There's no issue of detriment to the environment or impacting sunlight or air or the morals of the township or anything else. So it seems pretty straightforward to me. I don't want to presume anything, and I'm happy to answer any questions any of you have.
Thank you. Board members.
Mr. Chairman?
Oh, can I just make one more point? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
The property owner to the north has in writing, in the docket, supported petitioner's application and wishes her well in her project.
Thank you. Mr. Flood.
When reviewing all the documents and everything, and the fire marshal has no concern with this, I really take those fire marshal really seriously on these cases when you're doing these setbacks. What I also notice on their right of all the other coverage, the height, lot coverage, they meet everything within the ordinance. All they're requiring is this setback to take care of the practical difficulty of being such a small house and things like that. That's my comment.
Thank you. Mr. Cook.
I'm sorry, what did you say your name was, sir? Your name?
Ed Gregosian.
Ed, okay. I'll call you Mr. Ed, okay. All right, so, no, Mr. Gregosian. It says here that the overall height is less than 30 feet. Do you know the actual number?
I don't.
Okay.
It's just a standard two-story house. It will be a standard two-story house.
Okay, and are you the builder, or?
I am the business manager for Ms. Markoff's design business.
Gotcha.
She is unfortunately, not unfortunately, fortunately, celebrating with her family her son's 15th birthday tonight, so she's not here.
Yeah, so, okay, gotcha. So you guys have, within her company, you all design, this is what you do,
We don't have architectural services. We retain an architect who has designed this house, but we do construction management, we do interior, exterior design, color consulting, all that.
Okay, all right, thank you. And so in terms of the scheme, in terms of the exterior, we're going to not have a hodgepodge, it's not going to be.
Oh, no, no. Ms. Markoff will laugh when I tell her you asked that question.
Okay.
No, she's very sensitive to design, is very, wants to really make a statement with this out, and not a crazy one, but one that fits within the neighborhood.
Okay, Okay, and I did notice that there was a gate that was there.
There is.
That is not very well maintained.
It's not very well maintained right now, and that gate will go away because it will be only 5 feet, so there'll be a smaller gate there. There was an extra wheel on there, but it fell off and has to be put back on.
Okay, all right. So
Thank you. Sir, by any chance, are you waiting for public comment on this case? Thank you. Let the record reflect we have no other public in the audience, so we have no public comment.
I was trying to find, I know that's an older established neighborhood over there.
It is.
I was trying to figure out how old this house is.
I'm going to say it's a 1960s, maybe 1950, but I think it's closer to 1960s.
I was kind of thinking same way, late 50s,
Yeah,
maybe early 60s.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so she recently bought this home then? Within the last 2 years, this home was purchased?
Yes, 2 years ago.
Okay.
And it was purchased with the well where it is and with the septic clean out where it is.
Gotcha.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Walker, as
it's appropriate, I'll make a motion.
far as I'm concerned.
In the matter of ZBA case AB 202240, Courtney Markoff at 805 Merritt Avenue, Sidwell 0911351004, I would move that the petitioner request for one variance from a zoning ordinance number 78, zoned R2, a 2.92-foot side yard setback variance for a house addition with an attached garage to be 5.08 feet from the property line to the north be granted, because the petitioner did demonstrate that the following standards for variances have been met in this case, in that they show facts which show that in this case, the petitioner does show the following practical difficulty. This variance request is due specifically to the unique characteristics of this particular property and not related to the general conditions of the area of the property, in that the purchaser just bought the property approximately 2 years ago, and because of the septic and well configurations, this is the most convenient thing to do to improve the house addition along with the attached garage. The variance is necessary for the preservation and enjoyment of a substantial property right possessed by other property in the same zone or vicinity, and also that the granting of the variance or modification will not be materially detrimental to the public welfare or materially injurious to the property or to improvements in such zone or district in which the property is located.
Support.
Motion by Mr. Walker, supported by Mr. Cook. Do we have anything additional from the board? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Ludd?
Yes.
Walker?
Yes.
Cook?
Yes.
Knaskis?
Yes.
Durham?
Yes,
Motion carries.
she's on her way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, we do have the first case here as
Okay,
represented.
Good. Where have I got it? Right there. No, not there. I'll find it. Yeah, I got it. Thank you. Next case we have is one that was further up front, AB 2022-37, Northern Sign Company for Allstate at 3048 West Clarkston Road, Sidwell 09-08-376-017. Petitioner is seeking one variance from sign ordinance 153, Section 7, non-residential wall signs. Number one, a variance for one wall sign over the allowed one wall sign for a total of 2 wall signs totaling 19.13 square feet. Introduce yourself and let us know what you're up to there.
My name is Justin Moore, representing Northern Sign Company. So our client I don't know if you have this drawing, if you have this in front of you. They are seeking, and if you look to the right there, you'll see existing signage photo. There's actually already a sign existing there. Now, whether or not that was installed with or without your approval before, they are simply just updating that sign to the new agent's information. So that is basically all we're doing, is just changing the information on the sign. It's not necessarily an additional sign as to what is already existing.
So the occupancy is going to stay the same? It's going to be the same business in there?
It will be, it's already an existing Allstate agency. It's going to remain an Allstate agency, it's just the agent is changing. So I'm guessing they got bought out by a different agent.
Okay, thank you. Board members?
Mr. Chairman, I remember years ago, we did grant a variance for that ground sign out front.
Okay.
And we had a lot of neighbors here at that time, and I guess it proved not to be a problematic, or else I know we got a lot of feedback on it.
Mhm, for sure.
What's your practical difficulty? I see, what do you want to put the sign above the front of your door now on that roof there? Or- I'm looking for the photo here.
So that to me looks like it used to be, I mean, like I said, if you see the existing photo, there is an existing sign there now. It does look like it's rather been, not well maintained. So that is basically just replacing one for one, as is the second wall sign that is in question. Whether or not there's practical difficulty, I can't speak to that just because he does have, the ground sign, a first wall sign, fairly ample information on the front of the building. The only thing I would make mention is that, most of the parking, or actually all of the parking, is at the rear, so I am assuming that rear entrance where that sign is proposed to be will be the most used entrance, so that would be, I mean, he does have window vinyl going there too, but that will be another, I guess, just identification on the rear of the building for his business.
Thank you.
Did I read that some of the window cling on the back is coming off?
So, yes, so obviously, if you look at the existing, that kind of swoosh that Allstate does is going to be remaining. The only thing that's changing is the agent info, and I'm assuming the phone number will be the same. So it's just the name that's changing, mostly on all of this.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Walker?
I'm a bit confused. So the sign in front is going to stay there?
The ground sign or the wall
The
sign?
ground sign.
The ground sign will stay. It is just, it's actually, Allstate is going away from putting agents and info on the actual signs now. So that's the only thing changing there, is the name's coming off, and it's just going to be an Allstate logo.
In addition to that, what is your request? You want 2 wall signs?
So, yes, the agent is requesting, obviously, the one above the main entrance that faces the road. And then that second, which is just barely over, I think, 3 square feet, is just a small little wall plaque that goes on the rear of the building by his entrance back there.
Okay, but now, is that a standalone, is the only business in that building the Allstate?
I believe so, yes.
'Cause that's what it looks like, a little small building to me.
Yeah, it looks like an old maybe house that got changed into a, but I could be wrong.
No,
If you ask me, I mean,
you're
it
the
doesn't matter
sign
to
guy.
me whether or not it gets approved. To me, I would say he's got ample signage.
Yeah, you're the sign guy, you're not the Allstate guy.
Right, yes.
I get it.
Yes.
But I'm just trying to figure out if if the sign is, the ground sign is there, and then there's another sign on the wall of the building, and why would you need another sign on the back wall? I don't understand that. I mean,
And, yeah, I understand where you're coming from.
the
Like I
question
said,
is
I would
more
just point.
apropos for the agent, not for you, I understand.
Yeah, I would just point to the existing signage photo. There is an existing sign there, and the only thing changing on it is the information on it.
Thank you.
Question for our planning specialist in attendance.
Yes.
The monument sign's going to say.
That's
It's just
correct.
going
It's
to have
just a-
different information. That's a change of copy,
Correct.
and it doesn't really affect the deliberations here tonight.
That's correct. Yep.
So we're looking at the wall sign up above and the door identifier in the rear.
That's correct.
Thank you.
But just for further clarification, Mr. Chairman, it says a variance for one wall sign over the one wall sign for a total of 2. So this sign by the door is considered a wall sign?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
It is, okay.
However, it's small, but it is considered a wall sign.
Gotcha, okay.
The concern here isn't the size of the combined wall signs, it's the fact that there are two and not one.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay, that clears that up for me, too. Thank you.
So, just for sake of clarity, this sign here is going up on the fascia here.
Correct.
That is a completely new sign.
Yes, it is to replace the existing one that,
It's not there?
well, if you look at the existing signage photo, I believe there is one there. This will just be replacing that. Both of them are non-illuminated. I think the only illuminated sign is the ground sign. But yeah, that is to replace an existing sign, just an
No, I
update.
think that's part of the confusion, because there's no sign there right now.
There isn't.
There's not.
Okay.
So when you say replace, that's what's creating.
I'm just basing that off of the existing signage photo that was given to us by, we're representing this company here.
Let me see what you've got, because if that's different from what I have,
So you're looking at,
yeah,
the one you have is showing the door vinyl.
right?
This one is the one proposing the actual sign over the building. If you look at here.
Right? Says
Now, whether or
existing.
not it has
Yeah.
been taken down since this picture was taken?
Okay.
Is that what you're saying?
It is down,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
there's nothing there.
Gotcha, okay. All right.
That's what makes it confusing.
Yes. So really, we're talking about the back door.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Flood?
For the applicant, I also noticed that in your application here, that you, even with this combined total of 2 signs, you still would be within compliance of the ordinance on the overall square footage. So you're not asking for anything for that? You're just asking?
No, we're not asking for anything over the allowable square footage.
Right.
It's just that you could consider it a second wall sign.
Strictly asking for one wall sign over the allowed, one wall sign for 2 wall signs,
Basically.
plain and simple, correct?
Do we have any public comment requests for this particular case? Seeing none, thank you. You can entertain a motion if somebody's of a mind.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Cook?
In the matter of ZBA case AB 2022-38, I'm sorry, I am reading the wrong case, my apologies. Somebody wants to take it from here, go ahead.
You're not going to get away that easily.
Yeah,
I got it right here.
okay.
No,
Had my order and it got all changed.
There you go.
Thank you.
Mine's out of order, too.
Okay. All right, so, yes, northern sign. Okay. In the matter of ZBA case 2022-37, Northern Sign Company for Allstate, 3048 West Clarkston Road, Sidwell 0908376017. I move that the petitioner's request for one variance from the sign ordinance number 153, section 7, non-residential wall signs. Number 1, a variance for one wall sign over the allowed one wall sign for a total of 2 wall signs totaling 19.13 square feet be granted because the petitioner did demonstrate that the following standards for variances have been met in this case, and that they set forth facts which show that in this case, the petitioner's practical difficulty is the fact that that he's attempting to meet the standards. He has one variance that was previously granted for the monument sign in the front, and this additional sign that's being spoken of is a sign that measures, what's the dimensions on that?
It's 1'3" by 2'6".
1'3" by 2'6" for the additional wall sign, which still keeps his total underneath what the total is that is allowed. The following are exceptional or extraordinary circumstances or conditions applicable to the property involved that do not generally apply to other properties in the same district, and that is that this is a business that is kind of nestled in the middle of two residential properties, and that the road that it is on, the speed limit is 45 miles per hour, so signage is going to be very important to its visibility. The variance is necessary for the preservation and enjoyment of a substantial property right posed by other properties in the same zone or vicinity based upon the fact that, again, as I mentioned, the speed limit in this area is around 45 miles per hour, and it is highly unusual where this particular business is located. The granting of the variance or modification will not be materially detrimental to the public welfare or materially injurious to the property or to improvements in such zones and districts in which the property is based. Further, based upon the following findings of fact, the granting of the variance would not impair adequate supply of light or air to adjacent properties. It would not unreasonably increase the congestion in the public streets. In fact, it should improve it due to making the business more visible. Won't increase the danger of fire or endanger public safety, nor unreasonably diminish or impair property values within the surrounding area. Finally, in any other respect, impair the public health, safety, comfort, morals, or welfare of the inhabitants of the township.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Mr. Cook and support by Mr. Flood. Anything additional by the board? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Cook?
Yes.
Knaskis?
Yes.
Walker?
Yes.
Flood?
Yes.
Durham?
Yes,
Motion carries.
you're all set.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we move to public comment.
Gene McNabb, Orion Township. I just want to make it part of the record that that green sticker on that fence should be very concerning to everyone up here, especially one gentleman I know works in code enforcement. Nobody should have access to those stickers. Nobody should be handing them out to anybody to mislead the public, because that's exactly what they were trying to do. And the other request is, I know you probably won't answer this question, but where does somebody go to get Ordinance 99 filed? The gentleman's hauled more than the allotted amount of dirt in there, and he's in violation. The building guy don't seem to be too concerned about it, because I've already had conversations with him. That should be concerning to you, because you know where we're at with a lot of this stuff right now. It may or may not end up back in your lap, and it probably won't, because all you were ruling on was with the fence. But I want to be put on record, there's two things the township needs to look into. Is who's passing out those stickers, and why they won't enforce Ordinance 99. You don't know what kind of fill's coming in there. You've got property on Brown Road that the township has been fighting for a year for contamination. Mr. Flood knows exactly where I'm talking about. Could be having the same thing there. I don't know. There needs to be monitoring, and I don't think it's being done properly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Eugene McNabb, 2981 Judah. The only thing I want to bring up is, when you build, like I said, when you build a 6-foot fence so people can't see in, when he was doing the work out there, he had about, a dozen people that couldn't even speak English doing the work. And why would a person, if they only got 1 or 2 children, build a house 50 by 100. You just don't do that unless you're gonna hide something and maybe put other people in that home. So that should be checked up a little bit, because once you get that done and the fence is up there where he's got everything hid, then then the township's gonna have another problem of only one family to that whole household. So then you'll have another problem if you got more than one family living there. So that's just something to sort of think about.
Thank you. Well, if we're done, finished with public comment, we have communications, Mr. Flood or Mr. Walker?
I think,
Ms. Flood, any committee reports or anything? Nothing going on?
Nothing new.
Okay. Mr. Cook?
I'm assuming that's going on with the plantings, the fence plantings, the alternatives,
Oh, on the
Garden.
defense.
demo area, yes, sir.
Oh.
Pertaining to the fence ad hoc committee.
Like a location, yes, sir.
We turned, Tammy, the director, has all the information now. She's trying to put that all together to present to the planning commission. So that's the next step.
Thank you. Mr. Cook just brought something to my attention that I already knew. We have adopted copies of the ZBA for bylaws for the ZBA. They went through a couple of refinements, but everything's done now, and we each have a copy. Beyond that, member comments, anybody?
I have a couple of things. One, I want to thank the township for another successful book sale at the library last week. We didn't break a record, but we did a lot and moved a lot of books and hopefully spread knowledge to everyone in the township. And thank everybody for helping and buying books. The next one will be in January. Mark your calendars. And secondly, and even more importantly, welcome back to the McNabbs. I haven't seen you guys in so long. I'm happy to see you back.
I hope both of us stay around a long time.
Me too, Mr. McNabb, me too.
Okay, the only thing I have to say is just, again, to thank the board, as I normally try to do, for the high degree of work they do up here. Another great meeting, and we've moved some things forward. Thank you. Okay, if we have nothing additional, we can have a motion to adjourn.
Moved.
And I'll support. Moved by Ms. Danaskis, supported by myself. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're done. Thank you.